Well, hello, and again, I am so happy to welcome you to the Waffle-Free Storytelling podcast. It's Tina Konstant here, and you know the score. You want the waffle? Then go to the show notes or drop around to www.tinaconstant.com where you can join in all the chat. But today's story is kind of weird and random, so we're just going to jump right in. It's a story about a family who lived in an era of incredible chaos and frustration. World leaders at the time were stupid or evil or both. War was considered completely normal. Lands and seas were ravaged, and fear and irrationality filled every corner of the globe. As a result, disease ran rampant through the population. People feared the very breath another breathed. It was a horrible and difficult time in human history. Now, in that family, there were 2 children. As if these siblings were a reflection of the world they lived in, the pair did nothing but fight. They were like fire and ice, left and right, perspective and opinion, 2 sides of a coin that no one wanted to spend. The people who saw them fight said it was as if they disagreed just to disagree. They fought over the biggest and the smallest of things, and during those fights they destroyed whatever they could lay their hands on, whether it was theirs to destroy or not. Their parents did everything they could to bring peace to the home, but nothing ever worked. It wasn't even noticed, let alone appreciated. The parents provided food in abundance, but the siblings just threw it at the walls. The parents provided unlimited supplies of gadgets and conveniences, but the siblings smashed them to pieces. The parents even built a garden packed with lush, splendid color, but the siblings tore it apart. The fighting was so loud and so incessant that the parents finally gave up on peace and were driven to complete and absolute silence. They sat on a bench in their garden, and they left the siblings to fight. After many years, as if woken from a trance, the parents finally broke their silence and tried once more for peace. "You have to stop," they said quietly, gently, holding the siblings' hands close to their hearts. "You have to listen, really listen. Then you will get the message from the heart of the earth. Know what it means and know what you have to do." But the siblings were screaming so loud that they didn't hear the words, and so the parents gave up. They left the house, they walked to the end of the road, they turned a corner, and they disappeared. The siblings didn't care. They fought non-stop for 3 days. They paused only when the food ran out. That pause lasted moments, until they fought over the scraps that were left. Only when every scrap was gone did they stop yelling long enough to realize that they were totally alone. Being young, they reached out to the family, but no one would take them in. Then they reached out to friends, but no one would even take their calls. Finally, the siblings opened the front door and looked outside. Now, they had always thought that they were the best at being the worst. They took an obscene pride in being the most vicious, greedy, spiteful, vengeful people they knew. But the moment they opened the door, a man passing on the street cursed and spat at them for no reason at all. The siblings were shocked and insulted. They turned into the house to call to their parents for help and intervention, but there was no one there. With nowhere else to go, the siblings had no choice. They stepped outside the protection of home and stepped into the world. They did everything they could to stay upright, but hail fell from the skies and bruised them. Rain fell and soaked them. Bugs flew through the air and bit them. People ignored them. Queues kept pushing them to the back every time they tried to get to the front. There was nothing they could do to be heard or seen or noticed or listened to. The childish fights over everything and nothing dissolved, and for the first time in their lives, in the hard, cold, bitter world that didn't care about them at all, the siblings sat facing each other on a hard bench in a tiny park beside a shallow lake in silence. The only way they could shut out the noise and the raw fury of the world was to sit close, to be quiet, to be still, and to listen to the earth beneath their feet. There they sat, without moving, without speaking. People noticed them at first, but they were so busy fighting and scrapping amongst themselves that they soon forgot the siblings were there. Years passed, and birds would sit on their shoulders, and children would throw coins at their heads and their knees. Decades passed, and people ignored them to the degree that they whispered secrets, big and small, light and dark, not realizing that the siblings heard everything. For 2 generations, the siblings saw everything, but stayed quiet and stayed still and waited, because amongst all the noise, they were listening for just one voice. Then it happened. They finally heard it. And when they heard it, they blinked. Then they shrugged, and as they did, the stone that had formed around them over the years cracked and broke away. The world had changed only in that the pain people felt was deeper, so deep that people had stopped yelling and had started asking questions. Why did everything hurt like it did? Why did things always break? Why was there so much hate and fear? Why did people in power lie? Why did people charged with telling the truth bend it? Why do we let ourselves be manipulated over and over? Why? No matter how much gets thrown at some problems, those problems are never fixed. People at the time the siblings opened their eyes were searching for answers. So when stone turned to flesh and blood, they thought it was a miracle, and so the people gathered around them, first in small groups, then in crowds, then in hordes, all wanting to know what woke the siblings up. What had they seen? What had they heard? What opened their eyes to the world? The people shouted and clamored and crowded around them. They pushed and pulled and demanded answers. But all the siblings said was this: "You have to stop," they said, holding the people's hands close to their hearts. "You have to listen, really listen. Then you will get the message from the heart of the earth. Know what it means and know what you have to do." And then, like their parents before them, the siblings walked to the end of the road. They turned the corner and disappeared. Some of the people were close enough to hear what the siblings said, and some of them listened, really listened. These were the ones who stopped. They stopped chasing, stopped shouting, stopped demanding, stopped yelling, stopped blaming. They sat in silence and listened to the earth beneath their feet. And one by one, they got the message. And like the siblings before them, they stood. They walked down the road and they turned a corner. And that's it. From the Waffle-Free Storytelling podcast this week, a little bit of a random tale. Have a glorious week, and next week is very exciting. We have our very first guest storytellers, so look out for that. It's coming in a few days. But in the meantime, if you want the waffle, drop on down to the show notes and visit www.tinakonstant.com and join me for a chat. It'll be wonderful to see you there. So do something special for the rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now. Hey. Biscuits later, Jack.